This is what everybody, at least in the tech scene, wanted.
The better the spotlight gets, the better it is for Raycast.
Enough of those big features. Let's just go and make it very polished.
I've always been quite vocal about my dislike for liquid glass, but now it's kind of gotten even worse.
On the flip side, also everybody said there wasn't anything big in there.
All right, so here I am with Thomas. We are here today to talk about the WWDC event that just happened a couple of days ago.
It's always this exciting time of the year, Phil, where you have all the conferences and WWDC. God, it's a mouthful. I feel like there's a bunch of stuff to talk about.
I must say that I kind of liked that they focused primarily on small improvements, enhancements, bug fixes, almost like accepting failure to some degree, just having time to reflect on some of the design decisions of the previous update. And I like that. I'm like, man, that's cool to see,
But also in a weird way, we all kind of knew that this is going to be this iterative operating system update, right? I think this was rumored before. It's also when you look back where they did a big redesign in iOS 7, which everything became vibrancy and blurs. The first version was also a bit rough. And then iOS 8, I think, is what when it really sort of clicked. This is what everybody, at least in the tech scene, wanted, right? Everybody wanted this refinements, enough of those big features. Let's just go and make it very polished and faster and all of those things. But on the flip side, also everybody said there wasn't anything big in there. And it's that's, I feel it's sort of this thing where I'm debating myself. On the one hand side, you want to have those refinements because they matter day to day. But also with the breakneck speed that we see in the industry right now, everybody expects also something massive to drop.
I wanted to get your opinion about how do some of these updates kind of relate to Raycast? What are the updates that could be good news for us? And what are the updates that you feel are borderline Sherlocking parts of Raycast?
I think the bigger change that did was sort of bringing Siri to Spotlight. So now you can just open Spotlight, you type a question, and then you get sort of an answer, which is very similar to what we had for years with Quick AI, and sort of taking the interface of a launcher and not just letting you search and open apps and other things, but making it just very intuitive to ask quick questions. And so that's one of the things we had for years. And then from there on, you can also branch out into an AI chat, which is now sort of this standalone Siri app, which, we had for a long time as well. In one way, you could say they're Sherlocking us, but I feel it's a bit extreme. I mean, there's so many chat apps out there and so on. But on the other hand, also people get more familiar with it. And I think this is always the argument that you make as well, is when people get more familiar with it. And so that's when I think it can help us in a way, because Apple is really good, and this is what they always do. They integrate very well with their system, meaning all the apps there on the App Store. But if you live outside or other work-related apps, they oftentimes are not integrated in their system very well. And that's usually what the power user wants. They want to have the same possibility in, let's say, Slack and Notion and Linear. And that's usually where Apple stops, because they're very consumer-centric. And that's where, for us, kind of the journey starts almost, right? Where we take a person who wants to have more and is this power user.
I completely agree. And I think it just makes a lot of sense that Siri now becomes this slightly more powerful assistant. That was always the goal with Siri. I actually really like Gemini models. Not a lot of people talk about Gemini, at least in our bubble. We see people talking about Anthropic and OpenAI all the time. But I have plenty of chats that I use Gemini for, and I think it's great. So to know that Apple is using that as a foundation, and then on top of it, They are, working on local models. They're trying to do things in privacy first. Like, this is all great news. If people can have really powerful model that they can trust on their device, or they can have a better spotlight experience, that now they start understanding how to take shortcuts on their computer. I think all this is great news. The better the spotlight gets, the better it is for Raycast and the better it is for most users that want to take advantage of it. But the reality is, it's hard to fully trust it right now. I am skeptical because I don't remember having really good, consistent, reliable experiences with Spotlight. Even in the last release, where they are supposedly made it better, the reality is that both with Siri and with Spotlight, because now they're kind of integrated, so we're talking about them almost as one. I hope it actually works, but my experience with Siri and Spotlight has not been great, which is one of the reasons that a lot of people like to use Raycast. So it's not about being defensive, it's not about bashing on them, it's more about, man, I hope this works as advertised,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this has always been the shortcoming. And I think with this whole AI thing, it becomes even harder and you can get burned even quicker because it's supposed to do anything. And then we all know that isn't really the case, right? And so then it's sort of a bit like user trial and error, what works, what doesn't work. And then also oftentimes people sort of give up and say, yeah, I'm only using it to set a timer.
On your home screen,
I've always been quite vocal about my what's the word? I don't want to use a strong word, but about my dislike for liquid glass. I still don't like it. I still feel like it doesn't belong. But now it's kind of gotten even worse, in my opinion. So, like, let me just quickly share something here, just so the rounded corners are now consistent, which is great. But on the other hand, you have the Sequoia style sidebar, right? Instead of the floating glass one. Even the color, the highlighted color. And then if you look on this screenshot, like, let me open this up a bit actually. Then you can see that you have this glass input and the toolbar buttons, which it just doesn't feel very cohesive to me. I kind of wanted to ask you about this, their search architecture. Will it be faster? Can you hook into it? And I'm interested in your thoughts about this, specifically because in the current version of Raycast V1, we are actually using their search architecture. By that, I think he means like the Spotlight index. In the new version of Raycast, however, we built our own indexer specifically because their search architecture was not that good, was not that fast, it was not that accurate. So what about the new one?
Will it be faster? This is at least what I say. Which, like, I would believe them, right? They wouldn't state it otherwise. I think there is like a difference between fast, reliable, and then also what content you need all the time. And so there's always something how it behaves day to day. So I think if it works faster, that's great. I think then people also expect more, also challenges us to keep up with it. We built basically our own indexer to also control what and how we can present information and also how we extend it. Notoriously, like, we might want to index files, but in the future, think about it could also be other things, which also seem what Apple leans towards, right? Especially for all those AI use cases. The more context you have, the richer your information is, the better the answer is. That's at least the hypothesis, right? And so for there, you need to be in control to get this. It's quite hard if you need to rely on somebody else doing this. And this is like what we learned over the years. Whenever we bet on like sort of a dependency, in the short term, it helps you to move faster. In the long term, it's very rarely good enough to do what you actually want to do. And I think then you need to go down the stack. And this is what we've seen over and over. This is why we rebuild the architecture of Raycast to have more control over it. This is why we have our own file indexer. The list goes on and on. So there might be some things that we can leverage. chatted about this morning, for example, with Samuel, maybe there is a way for us to use also the on-device intelligence that Apple provides, so we can have like a nice fallback for when you don't have an internet connection or for something simple, right? So those things which an operating system can give you, we maybe can tap into. And this is what we always done with Raycast, where we try to leverage as much as possible as Apple provides in the system frameworks, and that's something which we continuously do. And that's, I think, also the exciting part about those developer conferences. There's always a little thing that pops up, and then you maybe need to discover that little thing and then need to turn it into like a nice integrated feature in Raycast. Thinking about things like, oh, if you copy an image, we run OCR to identify what's the text in an image. So when you open clipboard history or the search screenshot, you then find the image by text because you usually remember what was on the image or the screenshot. And so those are like those little things that you can get from a system, which is a very raw capability, and you can turn it into a nice feature. And I think very similar about some of those other things that they hopefully improve. And well, when those things get better, more stable, faster, then also we, as well as every other third-party developer, benefits of it. And I think that's like always very nice.
I think at this point, every chat interface kind of looks the same. I don't think we should sit here and be like, oh, we own this kind of pattern or anything like that. So not too bothered about this.
I think there is something interesting, and I'm riffing here a bit, and maybe people who listen that far into the conversation, I'm curious to hear what you think, because you're probably some of the heavier Raycast fans. But so we have Quick AI in Raycast, right? And it works fine. You type something, you press tab, and then you get an AI-generated answer. But I always felt like we haven't fully nailed the UX. Like tab is weird because all the time you usually press return. It would feel more natural where you type and then just press return to like get into Quick AI. Maybe suggesting you something as well as you type, a bit like an auto completion, so you can get quicker to whatever you want to type. And so I think there are some interesting things that maybe whenever somebody builds like sort of similar functionality to you, you start taking a step back and think, oh yeah, we have also things in our minds that we should maybe pick up and improve things further. So I'm very curious how people think about that, if there is something which they think we should improve in Quick AI or how they're using it generally.
I find it really difficult to make a useful shortcut. It's not that straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of complex. Oftentimes there's a lot of trial and error, especially if you want to like chain a specific series of things, get this image and put it here and then copy the transcript, it gets tricky. And so being able to describe the shortcut that you want using AI, and it then creates the shortcut for you, I think this is great. I think that this is the future in a lot of apps. We've often talked about doing this in Raycast. So you can say, create a quick link to this URL using this argument, and it goes and sets it up for you. So I feel like this makes a lot of sense, especially when, you can just do it by voice, by talking to it. Obviously, I found it funny that they were using Pedro in the demo. But, you just tell it what you want, great. And it does it. And then you've got your shortcut. That's cool.
I think this is really cool. I feel like it's just such a niche feature. So I wonder how many people actually use this. I know there's some power users really heavily relying on it. But when I think about the all of Apple users, it's such a niche feature for them. But I think it's really cool. Like making it more accessible hopefully also brings it to more people. And because there are sometimes things you can just automate with when you know how to do it. But now with a bit of English or any language, I guess at some point, you can just do those automations. So I think it's cool and nifty. And so yeah, it keeps on our toes to maybe bring something similar to like extensions and generally how you could make some of those things you do day to day easier. Let's see if it helps me getting more shortcuts. I'm not like a super shortcut person, but we'll see.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. We spent quite a long time, talking about the event reactions and everything. Overall, it was okay.
I think good. I didn't expect a mind-blowing WWDC this year. I think in a weird way, we we, as like speaking as the tech bubble, I think we got what we wanted, like little improvements, more stability. We got listened to with liquid glass and some other things. But equally, we didn't really get this blown away effect that we also wanted. So all in all, I think is a net win. It was a bit quiet for us this year. We have a bit of work to do on the design, but that's cool. And then going forward.